Hey, how's it going, guys? I thought I would make a quick video to show you guys what I'm working on to help with my wrists. As you may know, I had wrist surgery 2 times on the left, 1 time on the right. So I have very inflexible wrists. So they can barely get to 90 degrees. So, I gotta work on that pretty hard. And I figured I would do something extra to help with my wrist flexibility. So I made something which I'm going to show you right now. So here we have my homemade wrist stretcher. And it's not finished yet. I don't really have any way of locking it in position, but I'm going to show you a little bit how I made it. So it's just 2 pieces of, well, it's 1 piece of wood that I cut. I attached a hinge here, screwed that on. Then I bought a plastic coated wire, put this little attachment on it. Then I think these parts were actually for furniture from a DIY shop. So I think this is, I don't know, it's supposed to be for like the leg of a chair or something like that. And these are the bolts that came with that. I bought a really huge washer, this kind of piece of metal that I'm using as a lever, and I just jammed the wire in between there. That keeps it locked in position. I was actually thinking of drilling into this piece of wood and attaching the wire here, but there's a metal core, which is how the screws are staying in, so I was worried I was not going to be able to do that properly. So a simple fix, I just jammed it right in there. I might take this apart and crazy glue it because it does move a little bit when I turn it. And then in between this part and this part, there's a spacer which allows me to turn this. If there was no spacer, it would be bolted tight to the wood. So there's a spacer in there which allows me to spin it. And then I just put wrist wraps, which are normally found, online, for gym workouts, right? Like, when you're doing heavy bench press. So these are some things I just had in the house. And I originally, you can see there's an extra hole here. I put a pulley, which I was going to use, but the pulley was a bit too short, so that when this wire came down, it didn't even touch the pulley. So I don't know. Anyways, I could have bought some better pulleys or ones that fit properly, but I just took a drill and drilled this through the wood, and I was worried it was going to get caught on the wood, but after trying it out, this wood is really soft. I think it's a pine or something. So if I pull on the wire, it actually, I don't know if you can see, but it's dented the wood a little bit, so it smoothed it. And that's the same thing I'm doing on this part. So it's dented here, which I guess I want, because I want the wire to stay in position while I'm using it. I was thinking of taking a saw and just sort of, making a notch there, which I guess I could do later if I wanted to, just to make sure it's very centered. But anyway, that's the construction of it. The whole thing probably was, I don't know, it was kind of expensive with all the small little parts. I'm gonna say about 50 bucks, maybe even 60. It doesn't look like it, but it's probably about 50 or 60 bucks for all these little parts and everything that I bought. So let's strap it on. I'll show you how it's working so far. Like I said, it's not totally done because I have no way of keeping it in position when I'm using it. So I slide my hand through it like that. Sorry, you probably can't see very well. And for me, this works well. So I have my wrist right at the joint like that. And I think we're okay. And then while I'm winding it, I just make sure it's in that notch I have there. So I'll step back. So there we have it, and I just turn it, and as I turn it, I get a bit more flexibility. So once I'm in a pretty tight position, it also kind of hits my elbow a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's kind of manageable. But then once it's in a position where I'm happy, like at the moment I have to kind of keep it there. If I let go a little, that doesn't really stay, right? So if I make it tighter, and you can see like there's a gap, like my wrist isn't totally pressed into the corner, which hopefully I can get to. But if I keep inching this tighter, at some point, sometimes it stops because the wood on the wood pressure, right now it's not really working. Maybe if I have it, I think it was when I had it on a table, because the wire is passing underneath it, that presses the wire down into the table and that sort of prevents it from sliding a little bit. So if I use this on a flat surface, it actually stays in position about, I don't know, 95% of the position. Like it'll come back a little bit, and that's it. So I can train my wrist flexibility with this, and that's it. So you can see like what I want to work on is actually this part right here, not necessarily the fingers. And that's it, that's what I'm working on. So eventually, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was hoping to have some kind of like a ratchet system. I don't know, I might put holes in the wood and then I can pass a bar through this hole and some of these holes. Like when I lock it like this, you know, have a hole here and put a screwdriver or something through it, and that'll just kind of lock it in position. That way I can keep this on like this and just, you know, play around on my computer, just have this on for like, I don't know, 10 minutes or something like that. But even a couple minutes of using this does get kind of tough, like it gets sore. So if I take it off, you can see like I got kind of sore red wrists from it. But anyways, pretty excited. I just finished most of this today. So anyways, if you got bad wrists and you need something like this, now you know how you can make one. Fairly simple design. If you have a better design, let me know. You know, anything to improve my wrist flexibility, mainly for handstands and anything kind of calisthenics. But the last thing I might add to this is an angle measure. So they sell them on Amazon. I would screw it into the side and it sort of, you know, would press up against this and it would let me know what the angle is. So as long as I have that number in my head, I can work towards, you know, slowly getting it more and more acute. But that's, I don't know if that's necessary, but I might add that on at a later point. So that's it, guys. Just sort of a little bit of a different video today. Hopefully that was enlightening in some way, shape, or form. As always, much appreciated for your support. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.